vaping.
What would you like, we'll order it.
Everybody I talk to, I know across the state. What do y'all do?
Crackers.
You
Pimento
know,
cheese
we
and
was in
crackers.
school, was smoking cigarettes. That was always the thing, and they allowed an area you could smoke cigarettes at. But that's not even needed
Pimento
now,
cheese
it's
is a
not
big
needed.
thing now, a lot of
Because you don't know what they're
No,
vaping.
they used,
You don't know what
they
they know
didn't
what's
sell
in cigarettes.
cheese that way.
6 o'clock.
They may start it down.
Kid today.
Really?
Okay, it's 6 o'clock, and we have a quorum present for our meeting tonight. I'd like to call to order the meeting for the City of Clinton Planning Commission for Tuesday, January the 9th, 2026. Our first order of business is approval of the minutes from our December 9th, 2025 commission meeting. Did everybody get a chance to look over those minutes and make any changes or additions, subtractions from them? If not, would somebody like to make a motion that we accept them?
So moved.
Okay. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, all the minutes from that meeting are now approved. Any old business we need to discuss? Any new business before us tonight? Okay. Development review, anything we need to look at? Okay, other discussion items. First item is the election of officers for 2026. It's time to elect officers.
Move we keep them the same.
Or would somebody like to nominate?
I second that motion.
I would be glad to stay on, or I'd be glad to step aside and let somebody else be
If
chairman.
you open it up, one of us like to get nominated, that'd be dangerous.
Would you like to be chairman?
I'd be help. I don't know about you two.
Okay. I mean, I'll do whatever y'all want to.
Well, here's my question. I'm fine with it staying the same unless, what will happen when people rotate off?
And if everything stays as it is right now, we have 3 members that are rotating off, is that correct?
In September, correct.
So it would be Mr. Strickland, Mr. Prickett, and Mr. Charhart that would be rolling off in September. So if Mr. Strickland were to stay the chair, then you would need to elect a new officer, or slate of officers
Right.
in September.
I mean,
Or
I
the
would like
following meeting.
to nominate Shelby Aiken because to me, and this is just me speaking, I think that way she could gain the experience of having Robbie, who has been the chair for quite some time, to help mold and shape. And, you know, we can discuss. I just think Shelby has some incredible decorum and professionalism, and I think she
Smart.
would be a great leader of the meetings.
Wait,
Why don't
we're gonna
we
have to
vote?
change at some point because I'm
It's
not
not that
gonna
I
be here
don't
forever.
like
y'all.
Robbie.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that I.
So what you're saying, you could train me if you all decided to do that?
No,
Right.
I'll be glad to.
You would?
He's got a goldfish he's trained it on.
I would be glad to, and that's not a bad idea, really.
Really?
And we can use the months between now and September to kind of, you know, he could do one meeting, you could do the next one. It's just however you want to do it,
You want to do
just
that?
to make sure
Suits
everyone's
me.
comfortable.
Okay, we can do that.
Okay, you're nominating
All right, so
Shelby?
I made that move,
Okay,
and then I guess we have to have a second, right?
I second.
And then,
We had a first motion, and it was seconded, so we actually have to vote on that motion first, and then we vote on the next motion. Okay,
Unless you want to amend the motion.
I withdraw my motion.
okay.
Draw the
You
I
withdraw your
withdraw my
second.
second.
Okay, that motion and second has been withdrawn. We got a new motion to elect Shelby as the chairman. And I have, and we seconded it. So all those in favor of that, raise your hand. All those opposed? Okay, it passes. Now we have to elect the vice chairman. Okay, who would you like to nominate for vice chairman?
Well, we might as well stick John in there.
No, I nominate Heather. I'd rather not do it.
You want to-
Heather's vice chairman now, but she could stay on.
I can stay on, yeah,
Okay.
I'll do that.
Okay. Do we have a second for Heather?
No, I'm not. I won't do it.
Do we have a second for Heather as vice chairman?
second.
Okay, we have a second, okay. Any other nominations? Hearing none, all those in favor of Heather for vice chairman, raise your hand. All those opposed? Okay, she is elected, so we have a new chairman and a new vice chairman.
So if you rotate off, you're done. You can't come back on if they
I
can't
can
find
come back
anybody?
on. I think I got to stay off 2 years.
1 year.
1 year, okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're gonna move in a year so you can move to a different district so you can come back?
I
He's
would,
gonna
I'm the at-large nominee now. The mayor nominated me, so I'm the at-large nominee. The rest of y'all were all nominated by a person on council. But I'm the at-large, and I work at the pleasure of the mayor, who's the person who nominated me is no longer mayor. But by the time we get to next year, we may have another new mayor. I think he's up for re-election in March of next year, I believe, and a couple of councilmen are too, so it always changes. I mean, you
He
always have
says he's
people.
not gonna run, but
Huh?
he says he's not gonna run again, but who
Okay,
knows?
well, that's what I heard, but I don't know. I guess he can decide when it gets closer to time, but that's not our concern, though. Our concern is just running our meetings. Okay? We have a new chairman, Chairman Chevy, and we're right here at this point. And y'all all got a copy of proposed changes for subdivision ordinance appendix
Now, you're
B,
gonna continue to run the meetings today,
if you want me
I
to.
would like-
You're the chairman, so you can tell me what to do.
run the meeting.
Okay. Okay, we'll go to the next item, which is the discussion of amendments for subdivision regulations, section 3.1.9. And we discussed this at our last meeting, and there's just some things in there that I would propose that we change, and everybody got a copy of that with their agenda. And really it just strengthens what we already have and adds another layer of accountability in there on item number 7. And item number 7 says the final engineering report shall be submitted to the Public Works Director and the Planning Commission prior to the Commission's recommendation to City Council on acceptance of the streets prior to construction of any additional phases. Basically, it means that the engineering report has to be completed, has to be reviewed by the Public Works Director and the Planning Commission for us to make a final recommendation to council for them to accept it. They're the ones that actually made the decision to accept it. And I feel that's important because if the roads are built correctly to DOT spec, then that's going to greatly reduce the future maintenance of those roads and whatever. And if it's not done right, that could be a really big expense to the city.
Absolutely.
And that's the whole reason for trying to strengthen. It's not really changing what we're already doing, it's just strengthening it. So we'll do.
I agree totally in us ensuring that it's inspected, that it's done, that it's in satisfactory condition. I just don't know, me personally, how I have the credentials to be the one that approves that engineering report.
Well, we don't, that's why we're letting the whole commission do it and the Public Works Director. Now, the secret is, if you look back up there, the person that does it has to be a qualified, independent, qualified,
Right.
registered engineer.
So
we're
is
having
this
somebody
saying
competent
we are
doing
just
it.
notified that it's being moved over? Or is it
What do you mean
saying
moved
that we
over?
are to actually be the ones to give the approval?
Well, we have to make a recommendation. Our job is to make a recommendation to council whether to accept the original plan and to accept the engineering report that's presented to us. And if it's done correctly by a qualified independent, and independence is very key there. It's got to be somebody that doesn't have any interest for the city or doesn't have an interest for the developer or builder. It's got to be somebody that's just looking at it with the outside set of eyes that's going to look and say, okay, all those steps were done, and they'll sign off and say, I agree.
I hear you. I'm
Yeah.
just thinking
Yeah.
of the devil's advocate here, because let's say it's a subdivision that maybe 4 of the 7 people on planning commission don't really like it. They whatever, and they choose not to approve that report, but the roads are suitable. Do you see where I'm coming from?
It would be, and correct me if I'm wrong, it would be hard to overrule a qualified engineer's report. If he says that it's built to DOT standards, then it is.
But if there's a vote,
Yeah.
could it be overruled, is what I'm asking.
Yeah, I guess.
You are providing, based on this, you would be providing a recommendation. And that would be based on the facts. Now, if I were your staff person at the time, I would recommend that you base that decision on the information presented in the document. But again, you do make a good point, is that even if I were your planner on staff and the engineering report came back and said everything is perfect, it would be very difficult for me as the staff person to not go along with the recommendation of the engineer. So, and of course the public works director, because they're the ones who are going to have to deal with it on a daily basis after it's brought into the system. So in that response, I don't think you would ever be in a situation where the planning commission would not be able to, where the planning commission would have a situation where they would need to go against the recommendation of the engineer doing the inspection.
The only
But you
question,
could.
yeah.
I mean,
The only
there's-
question I'd have for an engineer, did you go through each step and do each step as it's prescribed in our
Right,
thing? And if he says, yes, I did, and I'm putting my signature on that,
Right.
because that's a big responsibility for him. If he approves something that was not built according to DOT specs, and that's uncovered later, he could lose his license.
yeah.
So if you get an engineer, they're gonna be thorough.
I just wonder if it's not part of the protocol that's there. And maybe we wanted to add this in because, maybe it's appealing to add it in because we're new to this and maybe it wasn't being done like it should before. I mean, I'm just making, you know, is this a reaction to that? Or is this a true solution?
Well, it wasn't done before because it wasn't written into the ordinance. That has been changed. Now the process, everyone has to follow that process. We haven't had anyone that's gotten through that process yet. So we, you know, as far as that's concerned, it's already kind of, you know, addressed
Right,
for that. But I will say that this is something unique that I don't see a lot of other places that has the planning commission do that, because the planning commission, you would already know at the very beginning when they bring in the plans, whether they identify whether they're going to have these as private roads or public streets, and then whether they intend to dedicate those to the city. They make that intention known at the very beginning of that process, so you would know when you're reviewing it whether they intend to do that. When that occurs, then our public works team automatically goes ahead and starts reviewing it based on that notion that it's going to be brought into the system. And typically it's the public works director with the council who makes that recommendation of whether you accept the roads or not. And typically the planning commission is not involved in that process. That doesn't mean they can't be, but it's just an extra layer if you want to add that in there, and that's what you're discussing now.
You know, the problem is, we've never had to do this before.
Right,
This has
I
never
know.
come up before, because we've never had this many subdivision applications, so it kind of
Yeah.
got all sprung on us, and we're kind of.
I mean, I totally get what's there.
Yeah.
I'm just asking, is that a necessary step? And can there be negative repercussions from that step?
I would hate for a development 10, 20 years down the road, have a situation with their roads, and they come in and they identify that the planning commission approved this on this date based on this information, whether it's right or wrong. You don't want to be a party to that, even though you would be covered under the city's tort liability requirements. You would maybe be included as parties to that. I mean, that's a question outside of my realm, but it's not, outside of the possibility of that being the case. You could always at least take the information, have it in here where the information provided to you, and you're at least looking at it. You may not have to make a decision. You could decide whether you want to have that decision as part of it, but at least you could say the inspection report needs to come to you guys. You need to see it just as information, just so you're knowledgeable about it. And if you had any questions, I'm sure the public works director would not mind coming or addressing those or answering any questions that you had at the time.
I think if it's a good report, it'll be fairly obvious. If there's problems with the report, that would also be fairly obvious, and that would be the point to catch it before they actually start building, so they can take whatever corrective action needs to be taken. If I were a builder or developer, I would want this, because if they build a road that's substandard and they get to this point and say, we're not going to accept it, now they're going to have a huge expense to go back and correct it. Unfortunately, there's no cheap way to correct it. The way to correct it is dig it up and do it again. and they're basically gonna be starting over, and they're gonna end up paying for the roads twice if they don't do it right the first time. So that's why, I think that's why it's so important. If they do it right the first time, then we're not gonna have a problem. If they don't do it right the first time, then we need to catch it sooner than later, so it doesn't end up being a big expense to the
I
city.
agree with every bit of
Yeah.
that. I just don't know whether
Yeah.
I want, as a planning commissioner member,
Yeah.
planning commission member, to be the one that approves something that I have no clue about,
Well,
if that makes sense.
We're not approving it, we're making a recommendation to council. Council's the one that's got their necks in the noose. If it goes bad, it's their fault, right?
Well,
We don't get paid, and we don't get elected, they do.
It would
Yeah.
really go back to the engineer who
Yeah.
did the inspection.
Mhm.
If he did this, if everything's done right and he did the inspection properly and notes that, then there shouldn't be a problem. And he should be protected because he has a set of professional codes he has to live by.
Yeah.
If he doesn't do it right, he could lose his license, and that'd be like a doctor losing his license to practice medicine. You don't want that to happen. If you're an engineer, you don't want that to happen either, so you're gonna do the right thing. But, that's up to the city too to decide who they're gonna accept as an engineer. It's gotta be somebody who's qualified, licensed, and, they have insurance to cover things like this, I guess, if they don't do something right. Most engineers are gonna get it right. It just adds an extra layer of more sets of eyes looking at it to make sure everything was done right. So when we make our final recommendation to council, that's a finished product. We said, we've looked over it, we feel good about it. And of course, they don't have to follow our recommendation. They can not follow our recommendation if they see something they don't like. There's no reason they can't. They usually do, but they're not beholden to that. We're just an advisory board, which is the way it should be. But I think your point's well taken. Hey Joyce, how you doing? Okay, anything else, any other discussion? And I talked to Phil before the meeting, what we have to do if we want to adopt this, we have to have a public hearing at our next meeting. And then have, public comment. If somebody wants to comment, then they have the opportunity and the right to do that. We have to do that and do that step before we actually make a recommendation to city council to accept this as it's presented. So I guess tonight all we have to do is decide if we want to move forward with this and have a public hearing at our next meeting. Do we think we're at that point we want to do that, or does anybody have anything that want to add to it? That's all I can think of.
I don't know whether we can have the public hearing still with this. I would love to know another municipality that does this.
We have to, at some point, before we can recommend it to council, we have to have a public hearing. We have to take
Right.
that step before we recommend it. But I don't,
Does it have to be in its final form
yeah,
before the public
before
hearing?
we send it to council, it does, yeah.
You need to have a public hearing on it. You could, let's say for instance, you could, at your next meeting, you could have a public hearing. You could then make a decision to recommend it on to council, or you could hold it and say, we need some more information. We'd like to take action at our next meeting or get additional information on X, Y, Z, any of those types of things. But at some point during the process, we need to advertise a public hearing for that. And we just need to know when you'd like to hold that, whether it be for next month, March,
Right.
or whenever.
I would be surprised that if you looked at Greenville, that theirs would be more restrictive, much more restrictive than this.
Right.
I mean, they've been at this a long time. They have
Right.
a lot of subdivisions up there, and I guarantee you, they're covering themselves completely from any future things. I don't think anybody would have anything less than this.
Yeah. And
That's
that
what
might
it's
be the
done.
case.
Yeah.
I would just like to see that.
Well, we
And-
can spend the next 30 days researching that before, we can still have a public meeting and get public comment. And maybe somebody will
Right.
come to the meeting that can
Yeah,
give some
that
information
works,
that we,
as long as we can,
that we know.
Yeah.
We don't have to make a decision because we have a public hearing. That's what you're saying, Phil. We can still work on it some more if we think we need to.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Once you get the public hearing, you might receive comments from the public, you might not. And then you could say,
I'm not
we'd
sure
like to
why
table
I'm
this
involved.
until our next meeting,
Yeah.
get more information,
Yeah.
or to
yeah, that's good.
make it on the issue, or look up,
Public Works
determine if there's
engineer.
additional information.
Somebody may tell us something we hadn't thought of.
Right. I just want to know what it looks
Yeah.
like.
If
Is it me
passes
reading a
Public
report
Works
that's
and Guys signed off on
emailed,
it.
is it?
Why are we having to do
Well,
that?
Why-
somebody's gotta do it, and unfortunately,
I mean,
we're
we
the
gotta
ones
have
that
it.
council appointed to do
Yeah,
that.
it's gonna be a
Yeah, I
lot
hear
like
what
a
you're
traffic study where it could be an email package, it could be 100 pages printed out. It just probably depends on the engineer, at the time.
Can I ask, I'm confused, why, I mean, if the engineer, you know, if Public Works is happy and our Public Works Department is happy, why is it even coming back to us? Why should we, I
Cause that's our
mean,
job.
if they say, okay, you know, Public Works signs
Well,
off on it,
Let me answer that, because that's the way we've done it in the past, and we're not getting the result we want.
okay,
If you go out to those two subdivisions, there's a problem with the roads in both of those subdivisions. So that tells me we need to add a little bit, one more layer of accountability.
Okay.
To, just so we can be comfortable that it's being done. Because I went out to the development now on the Ring Road, and I was horrified what I saw.
Mhm.
And I don't know if y'all saw the pictures, I took some pictures of it. They've gone out and done a lot of work on it, and they've patched a lot of it. Now, how those patches are gonna hold, I don't know. I don't know how it was patched. But I went out to the new development out here on Main Street, and those roads appeared to be done a lot better in the beginning, but they're already having places that are breaking up.
Yeah.
And if my common sense tells me if they were done right, it wouldn't be breaking up this soon. Because it's breaking up down on this end, they're building on the other end. So the traffic's on the other end, but yet it's already breaking up. So that's why I think we just need to tighten it up and have another set of eyes and another layer in there to make sure it gets done right. And that's no guarantee that something won't slip past us, but I just think it makes it a lot less likely that something's gonna slip past us.
so the final step will be us then, is what you're
No,
saying?
our final step will be
Would
city council.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but-
We'll make a recommendation to city council based on our findings, and then they will make a final determination of whether that's part of our code or not, which is the correct thing, because they're the elected officials that are responsible for that, so.
Well,
Yeah.
we can't be responsible for roads that weren't built right. I mean,
I don't think so.
We just
No.
cannot do that.
No.
We don't have any-
Especially, our best defense would be, we had a qualified registered engineer do the inspections, and he signed off on it. Any reasonable person would say, that was the step that you needed to take, and you took it. I mean, we don't know more than the engineer knows, so why wouldn't we take, if he's willing to sign it, put his reputation on the line, then that tells me that we did everything that we should have done to be careful to make sure they were done right.
So we're just another layer.
Just another layer.
Layer.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mr. Lapahorn, the last paragraph on that section is that the director of the Public Works Department is required to inspect the quality of construction of each of these stages. So they would need to be out there identifying during that process what's being placed on the ground, what's underneath these roads. And
Yeah, they're not doing that now.
documentation there. I'm sorry.
They're not doing that now?
They are doing this now as of 2021.
Okay,
So anything that predated 2021 that has been road construction did not have to follow this process
okay.
officially.
Yeah. They should, I mean, they always should have been making sure the roads were built right, just so we didn't have to come back and fix them later, because as we know, road repair and road building is very expensive now. And, we need to be putting whatever resources we have in repaving the roads that we currently have that haven't been repaved, that are repaved. And we're making progress in the city. You can go around and see roads in the city that are getting paved every year, so it's a lot better than it was even 5 years ago. But we still got a lot of roads that need to be paved in these neighborhoods. And we're gonna have a lot more new neighborhoods, so that means a lot more roads. So we don't want any expenses we're not expecting.
I agree with you.
We need to do everything we can to make sure that doesn't happen. Now, you know, things can always go wrong, things can always fall through the crack, but I think this shows that we did everything that any reasonable person would have expected us to do to make sure these roads are getting built to DOT specifications. And that's the important thing.
I mean, we owe it to the people in town who pay
Yeah.
taxes
That's right.
and, you know, counting on things being done right.
Yeah, because I'd hate to say, well, these roads need to be repaved. They're only 3 years old. Did y'all have them inspected? Did y'all do anything? I'd like to be able to say, yes, this is what we did, instead of, well, man, we ain't worried about that. They're not gonna like that when they figure they gotta pay several $1 million for repairs of a road. So I think if we take these steps, we've done everything that a reasonable person would have expected us to do. You know, we're not experts, but, you know, common sense tells you if all these steps are followed and the engineer signs off on it, it was probably done satisfactorily, the way they should have been. And it's up to the developer. It says in the code that the developer is responsible for building all those roads to DOT specs, as well as the underground utilities, the sewer line, the water lines, electric. All that has to be done according to specifications too. It's a lot to do a subdivision. It's a lot, it's a big responsibility on these developers. And most of them have been in the business a long time. They know that if they've done a subdivision in Greenville County or Spartanburg County, they know what they gotta do. 'Cause they
Yeah,
really-
I completely
Yeah.
agree with everything
Yeah.
you're saying.
Yeah.
I'm just unsure of whether I personally feel qualified to do this approval when I know the Public Works Director knows way more, and that's part of his or her position.
And I
That's-
think
that's
if he
my
comes,
only
if he
stance.
comes to us and says, I've done all this and I feel good about it, I don't see any reason why we wouldn't go with his recommendation and the engineer's recommendation. We just need to know that that's been done.
I think we just.
That's our,
approve-
that's our
our
job to
approval,
say
not
it's been
guarantee.
done.
Engineers.
Our approval is not a
You know.
guarantee.
No.
Right, just,
Because ultimately.
No,
if
and
he
I don't think
approves
it would be reasonable for
for
anybody to
liability,
expect
that's
us to,
go
because
back
we're not
on him.
engineers,
The
I'm not an
engineer,
engineer.
the engineer
But-
would
But
be.
that
when we
would
said
take.
we did get it
Yeah.
done by an engineer and we felt comfortable with it, I think that's what any reasonable person would have expected us to do. Not to do it and just say, well, we're not gonna worry about it, I think that would kind of be a dereliction of our duty as a planning commission not to do it. And not to make sure that we question that it got done. Now, if somebody doesn't tell us the truth, nothing we can do about that.
Right.
I mean, I don't think any reasonable person would hold that against us if, you know, if they gave us a report that was not accurate to what they said it was. But it's a big responsibility for the engineer and for the public works director. That's why they get paid and we don't.
Good point.
Because that's their job, and they do a good job, but we just need to make sure moving forward, because we're gonna have a lot of subdivisions that this is gonna come into play, and we'll have more in the future. And if the developers know this is the rules, then they'll obey them. Most
Yeah.
all reputable developers and builders they're gonna expect this.
So if there's an error in this, that's not on us?
No,
That's on the
Yeah.
engineer?
no.
Is that correct, or the
Yeah.
Public Works
Yeah.
Director? No?
Well, the engineer.
The
The engineer.
Basically,
have
the
liability,
engineer, if
correct?
he's signing off, he's saying everything on this list has been done to his satisfaction, it's been done to code, to DOT specifications, and if he certifies that, then there's no reason for us not to accept it.
I hear what you're saying.
I mean, we're not gonna not accept because we don't, you know, we're not
We're
happy
not
with
liable for
whatever,
it.
we can't do that.
Like you were saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on them.
Okay, it's on them.
Okay,
Mm-hmm.
okay, all on agreement to schedule a public hearing for our next meeting for this? Okay.
Yes. Mhm.
We need to vote on that.
I move we
Just
schedule.
direction for me,
Was that?
just direction on what you like to do, so.
Yeah. Does everybody agree that we should have a public hearing at our next meeting to discuss this? Raise your hand if you do. Raise your hand if you don't. Okay, everybody's in agreement, so we'll have it, okay? Okay, the next item on our agenda is the planning director's reports and recommendations. Anything? Planning chair and commission members' reports and recommendations. Does anybody else have a report or recommendation they'd like to make at this time?
I do want to say something real quickly. I read last night, Lawrence County Council had a meeting, and Clinton Chronicle had put out some information. And there are several industrial manufacturing prospects coming to Lawrence County. I think only one was maybe in the first reading, the others were on down the line. And I totaled the numbers, and it was around 300 jobs.
Wow.
And I just think we need, I've heard a lot of folks when we talk about housing
Yeah.
say, where are these people going to work? Where are these people going to work? Well, it looks like the jobs are coming, and I wanted to share that in case everyone has not been able to read that news.
Can you also say in the sense of what type jobs are those? Is that professional? Is it manual? What
They
is it?
did not say they aren't given specifics. It's just in process, and those jobs are
Yeah.
hopefully headed this way.
Okay.
So,
It should be skilled at least.
yeah.
But it's a moving target, so we gotta stay on top of it.
That's right.
If we see two big companies come in and build two big plants, then we gotta get on it. If nobody's coming, then we can take our time a little more and be a little more choosy. But we can kinda gauge that as we move along to see what's actually coming, and it should be.
I think, that-
Hope it will be.
I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I think the reason I'm asking, you probably don't have the answer today, is that to know whether or not these people can actually afford the housing that we are approving.
Yeah,
That's
a
what I'm
good-
saying.
Right,
You know, if there's just gonna be manual labor, is it skilled, that would help us to be able to plan,
Right.
to know what type of income they're going to have.
yeah. And I do think most developers and most builders know quite a bit more than we do. And they have that information or they wouldn't build. We have to trust, I think sometimes it's hard, but we have to trust that those folks have done that research and know it.
Okay, I have a question after you finish that one.
okay.
And granted, I'm learning as we go along, but what would you all say we have affordable housing in Clinton? Do we have affordable housing? And when I say that low income, do you think we have that?
I don't think America has that.
Yeah, I think you're right on that.
I think
they
you're
have it
right on
anywhere.
that. There's a shortage nationwide of truly affordable housing. Somebody that told me an idea of what we need is to recruit a developer who wants to come in and redevelop the Lydia Mill and Clinton Mill. There's a lot of houses over there that can be bought cheap and renovated and turned into really nice homes that really will be affordable to people. And that's already happened, some of them have been, if you ride through there, you'll see some houses that look really nice, and then you'll see some that nothing's been done. It's just a piecemeal process. But if we
Yeah.
could get a couple of developers that come in, that's their specialty, and there's a lot of people that do that in areas.
Yeah, and I guess
Yeah.
that's been on my
Yeah.
thinking, and then people I've talked to
Yeah.
asking that question. And I know at where I am right now, I'm beginning to, with there's so much poverty,
Yeah,
intergenerational poverty. And so my plan for this year with social services is to have someone to come in that can talk about credit recovery, expungement, and
Yeah.
jobs.
yeah,
But the thing is, can they afford the housing that we have here?
yeah. And we need to make sure we have something for everybody,
Exactly.
not
Well,
just the top end, but we
Some
have
of the
something for
housing, if
everybody.
they have the credit, is at a lower price than renting.
But
Because
do they-
rent has gone up,
But do they have the credit?
correct.
That's the ticket.
Yeah, that's
to
the
get
thing
that.
is they
Do they
have
have the
to-
credit?
They have to rejuvenate the.
Yeah, that's just, I think we're doing a great job, and I'm enjoying being on the commission. It's just, they're just thinking about, okay, where will people work? Where would they live if they can't afford the houses that are coming? Because we have a lot of poverty here.
That describes the whole upstate,
Yep.
and really. a lot of
That
areas,
that describes
The nation,
yeah. A lot of
yes.
areas, yeah.
the nation.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because what some people call affordable housing is not affordable
Right.
to the average person, and that's what you gotta watch for, is to make sure you have something for everybody, something that everybody can afford, different levels, so. But a couple of people have told me that, they'd like to see a developer come in and redevelop some of these mill houses, because a lot of them they're solid houses, they just have been neglected for years, they just need some work done to them, but not a tremendous amount, but, you know, it'd be an investment, but most of those people that do that, they make good money doing that.
Yeah.
You know, because you can buy the houses so cheap, and it gives them something to start with. Because now starting to build a house from scratch is, you got a lot of expense to go before you actually start up with a house. You got the cost of the lot, the foundation, and different things that make it really expensive. It's a real challenge for builders now. Okay, anything else? If I don't hear any more discussion, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?